and you could look in the window.
Sorry.
It's all right. You could look in through the window and you could see a fire going. Now outside there was snow on the ground and snow in the air, and the wind was blowing, and it was cold. It was real cold. In fact, it was so cold that the trees that surrounded the house, well, they were wanting to take an axe and cut themselves into firewood. That's how cold it was. Now, as for the family that lived in the home, well, they had a hard year that year, and they really didn't have much. In fact, you might say they were poor. They were real poor. In fact, they were the kind of poor where they would use a fork to eat their cereal just to save the milk. That's how poor they were. Now, this family, on Christmas Eve, the mother had gone off to her sisters to get some gifts for her 3 boys. Whereas the father, well, he was called into work that night to do a job that only he could do. And he would be away all night and return in the morning. But before he left, he called his 3 boys over to his side. And well, the youngest one was yay small. The oldest one was yay tall. And the one that was in between was kind of middle. And they were wearing these long coats with these deep pockets. And well, even though there's a fire, it was still very cold in the house. And the father, he buttoned up all their coats, buttons up to the top on the coats. He gave them each a loaf of sourdough bread, which was the last bit of food they had in the house. And he took them over and he sat them down by the fire on a small bench. He threw a log on the fire and he told the boys, stay by the fire to stay warm, eat only when you're hungry, and don't open that door. There are wolves out there that like to eat little boys, so don't open that door. And he hugged the 3 boys, and then there was this big blast of cold air. He stepped out in the snow and he latched the door tight behind him. The 3 boys, they sat there on their bench, sat there watching the flames of the fire. And down again, yay tall, the oldest, he'd throw a log on the fire, and they listened to the wind. It would blow, and it would howl, and it would whine, and then as if to calm itself, it shh, and then it would blow, and it would howl, and wait. There came a rat-tat-tat knocking at the front door. Well, the boys say, again, there came another rat-tat-tat knocking at the front door. Well, the boy who was yay small, maybe it's the wolf. Whereas the oldest, no, wolves can't talk. And again, there came another rat-tat-tat talking at the front door. Well, the boy who was in between middle, who is it? He was kind of going through that stage in his life. And from the other side of the door, there came it's me, let me in. I'm so cold and so hungry. Please let me in. And the son, who was yay small, maybe the wolf's trying to trick us. Whereas his older brother, yay tall, well, wolves can't talk. And again, from the other side of the door, please let me in. I'm so cold and so hungry. Please let me in. And the boy who was middle, well, he hurried over to the window and he looked out the window, and he could see snow and darkness, and it's a short snowman with a funny hat. And there in the darkness, he could see, it looked like a snowman, half the size of a normal snowman, but it was a man made of snow. He had arms made of snow and legs made of snow and a body made of snow. And he had this long beard, but he had a face with a red nose on it. And he was wearing this tall, pointed hat. And well, yay small, maybe it's the wolf trying to fool us. Whereas his brother, yay tall, if that snowman doesn't have a tail, we should let him in. Father would want us to be kind. Father only warned us about wolves, not snowmen, so we should let him in. Well, middle, he looked out the window and he could see no tail. So the 3 boys, they decided to let him in. And there was a big blast of wind, and the snowman hurried in, and middle, he latched the door behind him. And that snowman, he stood there hunched over and he didn't move. He just stood there still. And little by little, his face, it started to turn red. And the 3 boys, they thought that snowman was going to have a meltdown, but he just stood there. And then I'm so cold. And he looked around and he saw the fireplace, and he went over to the fire and he pushed the 2 boys onto the floor, and he sat down on the bench to warm himself. And now, yay small, he started to cry. Whereas his older brother told him not to worry. Their father would want them to be kind. They could just sit on the floor next to the fire to stay warm. And so middle, he came over and joined them. And the 3 boys, they sat there looking up at the snowman, who just sat there warming himself. And he just sat there and he didn't say a word. He just sat there still. And the boys, they wanted to ask him questions, but it was like the snowman was just giving them the cold shoulder. He just stood there and sat there. And then little by little, the snow began to melt. The snow arms melted, the snow legs melted, and he had this long white beard. And yay tall, he looked at him, he thought that snowman looked a lot like the short man that lived up by the river. Over the years, the father and mother had been giving food and supplies and blankets to the man that the father called the gold hunter. But he never wore a pointed hat like the snowman, so the yay tall wasn't quite sure. And then the snowman, oh, I'm warm, but I'm still so hungry. And he looked around the room. I'm still so hungry. And he looked down at the three boys. And I want you to know it's not that kind of story. And he looked down at the three boys and he saw their little loaves of bread and he reached down and grabbed them. Now, yay small, he started to cry, but his oldest brother told him that they should share. That's what their father would want them to do. And that snowman ate that bread faster than they were just gone. And when the snowman finished, he looked around the room and he saw no tree with decorations. He saw no mantle with stockings. In fact, there was nothing about the room to say that this night was anything more special than any other night of the year. And then he looked down at the three boys with their long coats. You boys are hiding something from me. Come here. And he called the boys over. And then he reached down into the deep pockets of yay tall. And he reached down into the deep pockets of middle, and then into the deep pockets of yay small. And then he got up and he hurried to the door and he spun around. Now, boys, I know you're hiding something from me. Show me now. And he told the oldest to stand on his hands, which oldest, he did what he was told. He went down with his hands on the floor. His feet went up in the air. They swung like this and hard candies fell onto the floor. They just kept pouring all around him. And there was one lump of rock filled with gold. And then the snowman pointed at middle, and he went and threw his feet up in the air and hard candies fell on the floor. And there were two smaller rocks filled with gold. He didn't have to tell yay small because yay small, his feet were already up in there swinging back and forth. And all this candy was pouring onto the floor. And there were three small rocks of gold. Well, then there was this huge blast of cold air and the door latched tightly behind and the snowman was gone. Well, the boys, they hurried over to the window and looked outside, but all they saw was snow and darkness. And they could hear the wind. It was blowing and howling and whining and shh. So they went back and they started throwing their feet back up in the air, seeing if they could get any more candy or gold out of their pockets until they fell asleep. And in the morning, the snow had stopped falling. The wind had died down. The mother had returned with gifts from her sister's house for the boys, and the father came back with a crate full of food. And they told the mother and father about the snowman. And there by the fire, underneath the stool, they found a bag filled with a dozen or so gold nuggets, gold rocks. The father took yay tall, and they went up the mountain, up the river they wanted to go thank the gold hunter. But when they arrived at his camp, they found that it looked like no one had been living there for months, and there was no footprints in the snow. So they went home and they had a great Christmas day. Now, even though the snow wasn't falling and the wind wasn't blowing, it was still really, really cold. The cows down at a nearby farm, it was so cold that they, instead of milk, they gave ice cream. So everybody had a nice Christmas treat that day. And as for this family that lived up in the mountains in their little house up in the woods, they all agreed that it was the best Christmas ever, all except yay small, because he had really wanted to see a wolf. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. That was delightful. I'm pleased to invite our first poet today. Mike Pickering began about 43 years ago to write music and poetry, and he loves both. He won the, I want to get this right, Atlantic Review's annual International Poetry Contest years ago, and he's been published in several poetry books. However, his favorite of the performing arts is still music, and he writes original music. Album which will be coming out in the spring, and he loves nothing more than to sit in a room with a guitar. It's the best thing in the world to create something new with music. Please welcome Mike Pickering.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. Somebody got a phone call. Okay. My first poem is called The Ripened Man. I wrote it about 30 years ago, imagining an older guy, what his life had gone through up to that point. So it says, he has aged well, wrinkled, ruddy-skinned, and lean. He's learned lessons, knows to live with seasoned riches, kind people, good food, and health. He reads to suit himself. He travels self-contained within his own mind, holds on with his fingertips to the edges of every book, turning the pages in time, going out and coming home over and again. His library is voluminous, his journals filled and bursting. Images of what he wants and of what he wanted line the pages in quick cutouts, glued with eager, satisfied hands. His mind recalls the stories he's lived, settled the adventures into retellable tales. He knows his wife's story, every nuance of her ancestry, childhood, and her relationships with her parents. Holds her like the cover holds the novel. His daughter writes often. He reads and replies, sending out queries as to the lives being lived in her realm, setting to the page the pieces of her life found in his home that warm his heart, bring her laughter and times to share with her children and sweetheart. Thank you. And I'm sorry, these aren't Christmassy. I was back there going, darn it, but anyways, here we go. This one's called The Son of the Weather. Who am I if not a son of the weather? A song sung by spring storms, heating up by the whisper of the coming sizzling silences of summer. Left vulnerable by the whispers of early spring winds and of the autumn breezes bound to blow every single straggling leaf from what is to become winter's tree. In these storms, am I not howling as trees are toppled, houses uprooted, and alleys of human creations whipped through, letting the ominous bells of the natural world alarm us as to our transparency? The heated silences of summer found me sizzling with intention, baking with anger, frustrated at the heat I cannot remove. Let me eclipse this boiling wrath as the moon does the sun, with no intentions of allowing anyone even a glimpse of it. I shall bury it and burn away my interior. Warped with the freezing weight of winter, I find myself bent over and frozen, nailed to the ground on shivered legs, unable to touch anything to my blue skin. My chill warning me there are places that men should not go. Springtime and Tornado Alley, and I yell at the top of my lungs, piercing the ears of the farmers buried deep in concrete structures below ground. I will tear from this earth all that is standing in paths wide enough to drive a team of horses through, well chosen to the point that they who survive will attach divinity to my course, knowing I may return and snatch the life from them. Okay. Can I do one more? Sure. Okay, here we go. Last one. This one's called While in Paradise You Rest. When the blue moon settled behind your silhouette, standing in the garden outside of our bedroom, our cat, fragile, old, and elegant, climbed onto a branch and sat there above you. Her eyes, two shiny golden suns, in front of the pearl white of the dipping moon. In the pendulum sway of our cat's tail, the rhythms of time hung as the old fragile cat sat purring in the moment. I lay in this room filled with costly trappings. I look to you in your serenity, shadowed by the pale moonlight, as you gaze about yourself and at the gifts freely given, and you move out into the world. I lay in the darkness amidst the whole of my prosperity. My attention is on departed dreams, the need for you to return to me, completing the fullness of my form, held open and empty, while in paradise you rest. Wow.
Thank you, Mike. The next teller has been with the guild for a long time. She is a legend. And if you talk to most of the librarians who tell stories, you will find out that she was their inspiration and their guidance when they were starting out. She has helped many and many storytellers in the library system of Sacramento. I would like to introduce to you Gail Ryle.
You want a chair, Gail? Gail, do you want a chair?
Yeah.
No, I think I'll stand.
Want me to lower the?
Sure. Okay. So let's do this on the top.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, stand over here, Gail. There we go. The next. Stand back just a little bit, Gail.
I'm sorry,
Stand back just a little bit.
stand
Stand
back.
back onto the carpet.
There you
There
go.
you go, right there.
I hope I remember this story okay. Oh. The title of it is My Origami Christmas. And origami is paper folding. Many of you have heard me tell a story about I'm sorry, I can't remember. Yes, please, I'm sorry. About a piece of paper that wanted to fly, during which I fold the piece of paper into a bird that flaps its wings when you pull its tail. And that's an example of origami. But for many years, I've decorated my Christmas tree with origami animals and birds with an origami star on top. And now this is the story of how it began. I was going into my senior year of college. I was living with my boyfriend, Terry, in New York City. And we had spent Christmases with his family in Vermont. But I had a part-time job in the New York Public Library, and Terry worked full-time. But Terry decided we should move to Chicago. He hoped to re-enter the University of Chicago, which he had dropped out of some years before. However, the University of Chicago declined to admit him. And in addition, he was unable to find a job. Fortunately, I had excellent college grades and a small merit scholarship, and I had no trouble entering Roosevelt University. In addition, I was able to get a 2-hour-a-day job typing cards in the admissions office at Roosevelt University. It paid $1 an hour. We were very poor. Fortunately, we met a couple who were just leaving a basement apartment in a condemned building. Since the building was condemned, there was no rent, and it was full of furniture. As you probably know, it snows a lot in Sacramento, in Chicago. And every day I would, and since the building was condemned, they didn't clear the snow from in front of it. So every day I would pick my way through the snow to the sidewalk and walk to the bus stop. I'd learned As I say, we were very poor, and I was very careful in what I bought at the supermarket. I learned to make pizza from scratch, and we were very comfortable. We were fairly comfortable anyway. When Christmas was coming, I baked cookies for Terry's present, and I spent $6 on a small Christmas tree, but I had nothing to put on the tree. Fortunately, I remember a book that I had at my parents' house on origami. Back then, I used it to make furniture for my paper dolls. So I bought some colored paper, and I got a book on origami from the library in Chicago, from the public library. So that was the beginning. From Chicago, after I graduated from Roosevelt University, we came to California, and I went to graduate school to become a librarian. Terry was killed in a car accident, but I have decorated my tree with origami ever since. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. I love that story.
Huh?
I love that story. Our next teller is only 27 years old. He's a research scientist born and raised in East Bay area. He first got into storytelling when he met Ed Lewis during an open mic event at a pub in Davis, California. He tells stories from his experiences living up and down the West Coast of the United States, often describing absurd situations that he finds himself in, not of his own choice. Please welcome The Last Starfish on Earth, told by Eric Hurt. Oh, I'm sorry, Tanner.
It's okay. If you can't remember, it's on the lab coat. I'm going to pull this back a little bit if that's okay. Give it a little more space. All right. Echinoderm wasting disease is a collection of syndromes that manifests in the loss of limbs or potential mortality of many echinoderms, the most common of which is the Pacific sea star, or starfish. Wasting disease is not thoroughly classified, with many marine scientists around the globe unsure of its nature of origin. With increasing ocean temperatures rising faster than ever, the prevalence of the disease has spawned an epidemic in the eastern Pacific Ocean, decimating the local populations of sea star and urchin on the west coast of North America. There is no treatment for this disease. This story takes place in March 2015. My girlfriend at the time and I lived in Santa Barbara. We worked at the Santa Barbara Zoo together. We were tour guides and educators. One weekend in that March, my best friend who lived in the Bay Area gave me a call and said for his birthday, him and his girlfriend were going to go to Monterey, California and take magic mushrooms for the first time. They asked if we wanted to join them. Being 20 years old, living in Santa Barbara, the answer was a resounding absolutely. The following weekend, we went and we met up with them at Point Cypress in Monterey. Beautiful place if you've ever been. It was early March, so spring was just coming into full swing. The sun was beating, the air was warm, the water crisp, the scenery gorgeous, stunning, beautiful. Couldn't recommend it more if you get a chance to go. So we found a nice, secluded-ish little place out of the way where nobody may bother us, with some rocky outcrops, some tide pools, and a nice little sandy beach we could hang out on. We made our PB&J and shroom sandwiches. We chowed down and took off. It was one of the best days of my life. We were having so much fun playing in the warm sand, the cool water. We were playing music. We were making jokes, kicking a soccer ball around, just having the best time in the world. We brought some magic markers, magic mushrooms, magic markers, you know, and we were drawing on each other, drawing on ourselves. It was just, oh, there was so much love and happiness and warmth in the air. It was good vibes all around. It was excellent. But at a certain point, I started getting a little fidgety, a little antsy, and I decided to get a little adventurous, and I'm going to go wade out into the water. And so I rolled up my pant legs, started heading out down from the sand into the ocean. And I would say that I was probably about knee deep into the water at that time. And I was neck deep in a whole other dimension. And I wasn't on Earth anymore. And it was awesome. The cool water on my feet and the warm sun on my shoulders is one of the coolest feelings I've ever felt in my life. This room's probably had a lot to do with that too. But as I was standing there in the water, I was kind of looking down and around, taking in what was around me. And I saw this amorphous, enigmatic orange blob waving, wiggling in the water around me. And when I crouched down and I looked at it, my apologies to the Zoom people if you can't see me down here. When I crouched down to look at it, I realized, oh my God, it's a starfish. And so I reached down and I grabbed it, and it was a perfectly healthy, bright orange, beautiful starfish that I just had in my hand. I was so captivated, ensconced. I called my girlfriend, Mimi, come over here, come check this out. And she comes over, what? I'm like, check this out. She's like, yeah, it's a starfish. And I'm like, no. Do you understand what this is? This could be the last starfish on Earth. You know about wasting disease. The mortality rate is 80%. They lose limbs. They're all dying. The populations are gone. This is the last. And she's like, bad vibes, disease, death. No. I don't want anything to do with that. You have fun with your last starfish on Earth. I'm going back to the beach with our friends. And so she walks away and I'm there. How do you not realize what is here? The power, the beauty, the majesty. Do you know what it's like to have the last of a species in your hand? You can go to a museum and see a passenger pigeon stuffed and mounted, but that's not alive. This was the last living, breathing starfish on Earth. How could you not understand? And I was so enraptured, so captured by the beauty and the majesty of this last living specimen. And now, let's be real, obviously it is not the last starfish on Earth. There are still plenty of other starfish, but I was on planet 1 billion at that point, and it really did feel like the last living kind of specimen of a species that I had. And I was so enraptured by this that I didn't hear my friends yelling at me from the beach, and then from behind me, out of my vision, I just hear, oh, dang, you can touch those things? And I'm like, I didn't throw it like that, obviously. I put the starfish down in the water and I'm like, that's the voice of God. He's talking to me and he is Latino. Hola, Padre, forgive me for my sins. And then I turn around and I see that there's 4 17 to 18-year-old Latino teenagers there behind me. And I'm like, oh, hi. Would you like to talk about starfish? And they're looking at me like I'm a total quack job at this point. I'm like, what is going on with this guy? And they're like, can you really touch those things? Or are they like, okay. And I'm like, no. And I pick it back up out of the water and I say, yes, you can. And it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's so powerful. You should. And I come up to them with it. I bring it up to them and they're like, this guy, I don't know about this. And I tell them some fun facts. I tell them about wasting disease. Being an educator at the zoo, I kind of just snapped right into work mode. I went right to work teaching them about this animal. And eventually one of them touched it and they were like, oh, it's slimy and rough. Come on, I understand. And eventually they're like, they get the gist. They've had enough fun with me. And they're like, you mind taking a picture of us here at the beach? And I'm like, sure. And they hand me their phone and I'm looking at it and I just see my reflection in the phone, and I'm like, nope. Not doing that. So I give the phone back to them, and they're like, what's wrong? What's happening? And I'm like, look, I'm in a level with you guys. I'm on a whole bunch of shrooms right now, and I'm having a great time. And they start dying. They're busting up laughing. They think it's the funniest thing in the world. Lots of here in the background, one of them like, oh, ese gringo es loco. Eh? I'm like, all right, I kind of get it. I get it. And so I call my girlfriend over, and she takes the photo of them. And she hands the phone back, and they walk off, and she goes back to or before she goes back to the beach, she puts her hand on my shoulder and says, Tanner, I love you. You're a sweetheart. Sometimes you are the biggest doofus on the planet. You need to relax right now. Come on, man. It's the last starfish on Earth. This thing is awesome. What do you mean relax right now? I can't relax about this. So anyway, they walk off. I regret not getting their name or their phone number, maybe, to keep in touch with them, just to kind of, because of the shared weird experience that we had together. But I put the starfish back. I get over my incredible ensconsedness in this little echinoderm, which is the taxonomic name for starfish. But we wrap up our time at the beach. It's a great time. We have so much fun. We go home. The come down from magic mushrooms is an excellent feeling. It's just very warm, and you feel very loving and accepting, and you want to relate and connect with things. And so we're just all hugging each other. It's a great time. One of the best days of my life. One of the happiest times I've ever been. And we go home, and time goes on. Months go by. My girlfriend and I drift apart. We break up. She leaves town, but I stay in Santa Barbara, and I stay working at the zoo. And one day I'm in the tortoise exhibit giving a talk to, I think it was a group of Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts that were there. It was a group of kids that wanted to come and learn about the tortoises. And I'm there talking to them. And from way across the way, probably about the distance from me to the end of the building here, I just hear, oh my God, it's this guy. And I'm like, and everybody turns and looks. We're like, what? And these kids, two kids come running up, and they're like, do you remember us? And I'm like, I'm going to assume you're from Monterey with the starfish. They're like, yeah, you were on a bunch of shrooms telling us about the starfish. And I'm like, oh, chill. I'm at work right now. I'm like, leave that first part out, And so I wrap up the tortoise talk, and then I start talking to them, and we're kind of catching up. And they're like, dude, you're like a legend, man. We talk about you all the time. You're crazy. I'm like, that's funny. Like, that's cool. I'm glad I had that impact on you guys. I hope you learned about the starfish at least, but I'm glad you had fun talking to me. And I got their names and their phone number that time. And their names were Raphael and Yesenia. And they're very nice. And we exchanged a few text messages here and there. It was very fine and cordial. And it kind of just ended on like, hey, hope you're good. I'm good. Hope you're good too. Yada, yada. And then it stopped for a few years. But when Joyce reached out to me to tell a story for this event, I was thinking about telling this story, and I thought to myself, maybe I should just dig out that old phone and pull out that phone number, and let's see if it's still Rolf's phone number. And so I shot it a text, and I didn't get a response for about 2 days. I was like, yeah, okay, it's been a few years. People change their phone numbers, And I was like, a little bummed thinking about it, thought about it for 2 days. Like, all right, I guess it is what it is. How the heck am I going to wrap this story up? And then I woke up one day, 2 days later, and I had a text from Raphael. It was his phone number still. And he's texting me. He's like, dude, Yesenia and I are married now. She's pregnant with our son, our first child. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you guys. That's awesome. It's great you're still together. And it's so funny that we could still be in touch over this ridiculous situation that we were in. And he told me at one point, he lives in Vacaville now. And so I'm going to go get dinner with them tonight. And it's going to be the first time I've seen them since the zoo. And I'm so excited, and I'm so happy for them. And I love meeting people. I love talking to people. I love making friends. And most of the time that I've done that, it's been through school or in a class or at a work or an event like this. And so I owe so many of the best friends that I have in my life to school or a job or to doing storytelling. But this one, and I think my favorite part of it all, is that I owe this one to the last starfish on Earth. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Rounding up my props, sorry.
That's fine. Starfish one time when I was skin diving about 1,000 years ago. Our next poet is a friend, a very friend of mine. And you know what? She is everything. She's a poet. She's a storyteller. She's a drummer. She's a dancer. She's a cultural teacher. And she's one of my best friends. Everybody in Sacramento knows Angela James. Angela?
But not everybody in town, climb up, knows my granddaughter. And like my other granddaughter, who is a lot older, she made her debut at the Storytelling Guild celebration when she was 9 years old. This one is, how old are you?
5.
Yeah, you got 3 and she's 5. And the thing is, I'm a storyteller in the position of being a poet as well. It's not easy. So, but the thing is, I like poetry, and I think one of my aims is to have everybody enjoy poetry, even the little ones. And this is sort of where I started. So, this is my granddaughter, and with this first poem, and it's not my poem, I hate to say it, but it's a very good one. She is going to help with this poem. So would you tell people what your name is?
I'm Aurelia. Hi. I'm so excited to be here, and I never been here to read.
To read, yes. Okay, she's very excited to be here. She's 5 and she's excited to read. Yes. So we're going to share this poem, and it's not by me, Shel Silverstein, you know, that favorite. And this is our favorite poem. Are you ready? Remember, you got to speak up. And what is the poem called?
My robot.
My robot. You gotta talk loud, okay? I told my robot to do my bidding. He yawned and said,
You must be kidding.
I told my robot to cook me a stew. He said,
I got better things to do.
I told my robot to sweep my shack. He said,
You want me to stir in my back?
I told my robot to answer the phone. He said,
I got caught on my own.
I told my robot to brew me some tea. He said,
Why don't you make tea for me?
I told my robot to boil me an egg.
First, let me hear you beg.
I told my robot there's a song you can play me. He said,
How much you gonna pay me?
so I sold that robot because I never knew.
Exactly who belonged to who.
With Miss Gloria. So I know it's the holiday season, and you know, we're supposed to be happy and merry and gay and all that good stuff. But as Eric said, some days you just don't feel it. And I don't feel the spirit at all. So I'm going to start off with something pretty bit depressing, because that's kind of how I feel right now. You know, it's cold. Yeah, it's cold. And you have to get out of bed. And you have to wait for the pest control guy. And you have to wait for this. And you have to do that. And you have to listen to these God awful Christmas songs on the radio all the time. Yeah. So it's like, and so you get out of bed, and it's like one of those days that never see the light. Have you ever hurled insults at the moon because its cool light does not shine on the dark spot buried deep within your psyche? Have you railed all day at the sun, fiery and bright, for not warming the frozen parts of your beating heart? Have you ever screamed at the stars, twinkling spots of white, astral omens of joy and adventure that you cannot have? Have you ever howled at the sea, ranted to the river, sobbed in the sea, entreated entities of myth and mystery for the truth of your history? The moon continues to cast its light. The sun still shines bright. The stars retreat from your grasp. The wind catches your fears and tosses them back. But then you decide you want to be a poet. So you really, really try. And it doesn't always work. So I'll just focus a little bit on me trying to write a poem. And trying is the key phrase here. And what happens? And I lost what happened, but it's I had this all worked out. But that's okay. Yeah. Yellow pencil. But that doesn't work. Legal pad. It doesn't work either. The computer screen. Nope, nope. But somewhere along the lines, sometimes it all comes together and you do get a poem. And then you could write about the joys of a poem and sing a song about a poem. My poem is a song trilling in the air at night, eager to be heard at the first dawn's light. My poem is words playing in a gentle breeze, then falling in place with structured ease. My poem is a dance, twirling on metered feet, anticipating the riffs of the jazzy offbeat. My poem is a shout of joy, resounding in the air, echoing forever that all can hear. My poem is a cry of pain as it travels along, unable to decipher why its words are wrong. My poem is a sigh of unformed verse, creating a trail in the universe. So sometimes the poems do come along. But back to the holiday season. Okay. Back to the holiday season when we're supposed to eat, drink, and be merry. And it doesn't happen. Anybody who could identify with me? Okay, everything. So then that's when you go and, as I says again, you decide you are going to be a poet and write poetry. When you are not a poet, but a storyteller, here's what happens. And when I get to the place where words are too many, I reach for pen and paper and decide to write poetry. Well, you might think this is so nice that words just cooperate, making it easy to write, to express with intensity, to paint with perspicuity, to showcase the virtuosity and laud the perspicacity of this humble poet. As the words try to erase themselves from my head, I forget the poetry idea and just tell another story instead. But I won't tell a story because I'm not supposed to be a storyteller right now. But if you do want a story, you have to pay me and you have to talk to the host. So thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Now, I have someone to introduce. He's everything. He's a storyteller. He's an author. He's a farmer. He's a winemaker. We're drinking his wine today. And with everything else, he's just a really nice person. I'd like to introduce Andrew Laufer, who's going to tell us a story about family gathering.
Thanks, Joyce. Thank you. Your presentation kind of fades right into that for me. Season's greetings, everyone. Family gatherings, right? This is the season for family gatherings. So the title of my story is Family Gatherings. Some people just can't stand them. You know, you're going to have to go talk with your obnoxious siblings. You're going to have overbearing parents wanting to get into your face. You're going to have relatives that are going to disagree with your opinion and want to fight you about it. So it's no wonder that some people really don't like family gatherings. Me, on the other hand, it's not like that for me. I love family gatherings. I think they're awesome. It's so much more than just breaking bread. It's an opportunity for me to get back to my deep roots, to see the people that watched out for me when I was wandering through the neighborhoods, the people who invited me into their home when I walked up to their door and knocked, and fed me, took care of me, the people that told me about society, about what was important. They helped me develop my views, my values in life. I love seeing people. That was kind of the older generation. Unfortunately, most of them are gone now. I have a few contemporaries that have the same experience as I did, and I love seeing them still. Then there's a new generation. And for me, that started when I met my wife over 40 years ago. I went to her house, and my wife is Latina. So I went to her house to meet mi familia. Now, I call them mi familia now because we've been married for over 40 years. And the joke in the family is I'm more Latino than I am Anglo. Because, 40 years, I'm not 80 yet. More than half my life, I've been with my wife's family and adopted that family. Si se puede. Anyway, I loved my family. We went into the house, went into the kitchen. A few steps later, we walk into the living room. I'm expecting to meet her parents. Well, she has 7 sisters and 1 brother. They're all there. She's got aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews. They're all there. They're in a big circle around this living room. And I'm standing there on full display. And they're staring at me with their big, beautiful brown eyes. And they were just so welcoming to me at that moment. And they've been welcoming to me ever since that day. It was just wonderful. And I thought I was meeting, the whole family. Well, as it turns out, that was just a small portion. We have well over 60 people in just her side of the family. She's got 7, all those sisters, and I'm the youngest of 6. We have big family gatherings when we have. So I just feel so fortunate to have all that. My wife and I were married 12 years before we had kids. And so we were the babysitters, the designated babysitters for the family. So all of her siblings' children, we babysat for them as they went out. And we got to bond with each and every one of them. I remember Marco, he was about 1.5 years. Mom and dad left him with us and it was time for bed. Well, he was having nothing of it. He didn't want to go to bed at all. Mom wasn't around. He wasn't comfortable. So somehow it fell on my shoulders to walk him around the house and pat him on the back. And finally, I lay down on the floor with him. And we're just both of us just looking at each other's eyes, where our faces were this far apart. And we're just staring at each other's eyes. And it was just such a moment of bonding that we bonded from that forever. He's in his 30s now. And we're still very, very close. It was wonderful. So bonding in our family. Now, we finally had kids. And then those kids that we babysat were now old enough to babysit my kids. And then, of course, they and their parents babysat my kids and bonded with them. And we all bonded together. Our bond became stronger. So I love the family gatherings when we can all be together for that instance. I've learned over the years too that there's a lot of trust in our family, and you can tell that by looking at their eyes. Now, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you do. You've got little kids. There's one right there. Christmas time or something, when they're opening a present and they're so happy, they're gleeful, they're just excited, and they turn to you and they look you right in the eye to share their joy with you, right? And then once in a while at family gatherings, a kid falls, scrapes their knee, and they're crying. Oh, and they're holding onto their knee and they're searching your face for your eyes for that understanding and that help. And of course you give it to them. And that's trust again. The trust is in the family, and it's part of something I cherish when we have family gatherings. And then there's the adolescents or the young adults who have grown up. I've watched them all grow up. And they come and they talk to me. They respect me. I'm their uncle for the most part. And they ask me about something important in life. What do I do about this situation at work? What do I do? So I start to talk to them, and they'll engage with me, and they'll just stare at me right in my eye while I'm talking to them. So intent, so much, paying so much attention to what I have to say. They may not like what I have to tell them sometimes, but they appreciate the genuine nature of my advice to them, and the love and the trust that they have in me. I appreciate that so much. There's lots of reasons we get together for our family celebrations. We send a kid off to college. We welcome people back that have been away for a long time. Of course, we have Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter and all that kind of stuff. Easter is one of my favorites. I live in 5 acres, and we have about 3 acres that's wild, and it's just grasslands, and the grass grows really tall there. So every Easter, I cut a maze into the tall grass. So we tell the little kids that the Easter Bunny lives out there. And we put little toys all along the maze, if you're at a dead end or on a rise somewhere. And it's just so joyful for me to watch them walk out into the maze all at once. We wait, and at one time, okay, it's time to go out into the maze, and they all walk out there. Mostly the little kids are holding the parents' hands, and they're so beautiful with their Easter clothes, or beautiful, colorful Easter clothes. And sometimes they go alone, but they get really excited to go find the toys that the Easter Bunny left them. It's just a delight. And then, of course, there's the food. Now, when they all come over to my house, it's kind of crazy. When they're all arriving, it's always potluck, almost always potluck. And it's very hectic, and they're trying to find a place to put the food, and the kids are running around all over the place, and the adults are talking with each other, and they're smiling and hugging and laughing and talking, catching up. It's just joyful. But finally, the table gets set. And so when it does, then if it's at my house, I always holler out, "Time for grace." As soon as I say that, everybody knows what to do. After 40 years of having family gatherings in my house, they all know what to do. We all come together And either outside on the patio if it's warm or inside the house, we all grab each other's hands in a big circle. And what I like to do before we say grace is I say, take a look at the person next to you on either side, your right, and then your left, and then look at the person across from you. Look at their face. Those are the people who love you. Those are the people that you love. And it's just such a wonderful reason to be thankful for a family gathering. I blew it one year. My daughter was going to college. Everybody came over. Everybody came over, and they wanted to send her off with their love and good wishes and everything else. And it just overwhelmed me, And so it was time to say prayers. And I was saying the prayer at these family gatherings is pretty emotional for me. And I started choking up in the middle of the prayer. And oh my God, everybody's looking at me with puppy dog eyes, going, oh, poor Andy. And so I was like, oh, I finally got through it and say amen. Well, as soon as you say amen there, they know it's time to eat. So everybody let go. They all rushing past me. They're patting me on the back. Oh, sorry, Uncle Andy. Oh, it's sorry, it's okay. But so they all know that I'm a big softie who really loves to see them at family gatherings. So I hope you can have a family gathering this holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. And I have a few announcements. Thank you for coming, but I don't want you to get up and move because we have some other things to do. Andy, we got two things, that and this.
Okay.
I'm going to.
I'll do one at a time, you guys.
I want to announce that next month on the third Saturday of January, Vicki Carroll will be the host and the theme will be childhood stories. And I'm glad you could all come. And we're going to end. I'm making the announcements now because we're going to sing and we're going to end the program with singing. So as Andy is passing out and Mike is going to join us and he's going to lead us and he's going to give you some instructions. Mike?
I need a couple of volunteers to come up with me. My voice is not as loud as it can be. Any volunteers want to come up and sing Christmas carol? I can spot the outgoing tag.
Yes.
Can I start off with one of my Christmas songs? Okay.
This one? Come on, you're getting.
Yeah, while you're getting adjusted, I'll sing one of my own. It's called When It's.
Did you get something?
I must apologize though. Can't sing.
Oh, it's okay. Now, first I'm gonna sing this one. This one is called When It's Christmas Time. And I used to, I always sang it with my students up on stage at our winter program. And they loved it. It was always a lot of fun. Do I need to scoot over? I guess so. Oh, you're gonna help us sing? This will just be mine. I'm gonna do this. What's that?
Yeah, I don't.
Do I need to scoot over, Andy, for the camera or?
Yes.
What's on this side?
Oh, there we go.
Gonna give everybody on Zoom a little vertigo.
Okay. Of the times we feel love the most, Christmas is the one I cherish most. Children playing in snow outside, boughs of holly and moonlight rise. packages amid sounds from above. Colorful stockings and a brand new pair of gloves. Pretty paper and bows on the door. Glowing mantles and alms for the poor. It's a season for us all. When it's Christmas time, well, ho, 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 ho. Though these times may bring a sadness now and then, there's nothing like a child or a gift for a friend. And may the children laugh with all of their hearts, and the joys of this season be only a start. Warming fires and these rosy glows. Christmas brings you plenty of those gifts to open and gifts to give. Lots of laughter and time to forgive. It's a merry old life. When it's Christmas time, well, ho, 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 ho. Though these times they bring a sadness now and then, there's nothing like a child or a gift to a friend. And may the children laugh with all of their hearts, and the joys of this season be only a start. Relatives you've not seen in a while, warming cider and the thoughts of a child. Mistletoe and these popcorn strings, Christmas lights and the angels sing. They warm the coldest winter's day. When it's Christmas time, well, ho, 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 ho. Though these times they bring a sadness now and then, there's nothing like a child or a gift to a friend. May the children laugh with all of their hearts. May the joys of this season be only a start. May the joys of this season be only a start. May the joys of this season be only a start. All right, thank you. Okay, now the choir for the Christmas carols.
Christmas carols, is it one?
We're starting with, everybody's got their packets, right? Starting with Jingle Bells. Okay, the thing you gotta remember about Jingle Bells is when we do the chorus, where it says, oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. We do that twice each time. Everybody got it? That'll sing twice. Now, in the second column, it has, in the very center, it has, oh, jingle bells, we got to skip that one altogether. It kind of goes in between two verses, it's not supposed to go in. Everybody got it?
No, but
Okay, so every time you say jingle bells, that chorus, you sing it twice. Okay, and I'll keep singing it so you'll just catch on. but then on the second column, the third stanza down, it has jingle bells. We want to cross that out. That's not to be sung at all. Yeah, I know, it's okay. Okay, John, hey, pretend you had a bunch of eggnog and we're all getting sloppy after the presents, right? Okay. Come on, Jennifer. Come help. This is my wife, Jennifer, by the way. Oh, yeah, good, good. Come on over. Pretend we're singing to the last star, please. Oh. Yeah. Good, good. Let's get the soul over here. There we go. All right. Come on. There we go. The little queen. That's pretty good. Just so you can do that. Okay, so the first one, jingle bells. Here we go. 1, 2. Oh, that's the wrong one.
Yeah. Do you have another?
You can read off.
Oh, we're missing a jingle bells. Somebody have it.
Didn't we have extra jingle
One
bells?
that has-
Steve?
Yeah.
There we go. We have to have it brought up. Oh, there we go. There you go.
I'm gonna give you this
No, I'm
one
not sure if you read yet.
because we're gonna sing this one right here. Jingle
But
bells.
She might not read yet. I don't know.
Okay,
She's
she
only 5.
This is
You'll
how you,
get
this is how
it.
you start. Follow the words. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Dashing
Through the snow on a one-horse open sleigh. Over the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to laugh and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated at my side. The horse was lean and lame, misfortune seemed his lot. He got into a drifted bank, and then we got upshot. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, again, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Now the ground is white. Go it while you're young. Take the girls tonight and sing this sleighing song. Skip it. Just get a bobtail bay. 240 as its speed. And hitch him to an open sleigh, and crack, you'll take the lead. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Woo.
All right. You guys are
Oh,
hired.
thank you.
What a festive bunch. Heck with the eggnog. Let's see here. Okay, the next one is,
Who wants to come up and take my?
oh, you're doing great.
No,
An old cheerleader, can't you tell? Okay, so this is,
I want to run outside.
okay, so we're doing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Now, the
Oh,
first
okay.
part, I really need some help with. I don't know that part. You know, Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. But do you recall the most famous reindeer of all? Oh, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose. And if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer game. Skip this part. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you drive my sleigh tonight? The red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows. Then how the reindeer loved him as they shouted out with glee, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history. That's it. Okay, good. I forgot to tell you about the ending. Great. Okay, now we're gonna do Frosty the Snowman. And you need the one with, looks like this.
That has a snowman picture.
Yeah,
This
because it has the full story and
Yeah, we got the right.
all of that stuff. Okay, I knew it.
Oh,
Oh, wait.
let me put my glasses on then.
Is this gonna work?
Yeah. You see it?
Yeah. Oh, wait. I can't see. Okay.
Thank you, amiga. Está linda.
Hey, so you having fun? Just fine.
Of course.
Okay,
Everybody?
so Frosty the Snowman.
All right. Aurelia. Linda.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1. Oh, does everybody know how to do the repeats? Okay, let me show you. You start where it says Frosty the Snowman. You sing the top line. Only the top line of, there's 2 lines of words. You sing the top line, then you go down to the next stanza, and it says corncob pipe. You sing that top line again. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Then on the second page, you're singing the top line of the first measures. And then you sing the top line of the second section where it says made of snow. And the top line of the third section must have been some magic. Everybody with me? The bottom section where it says when they place it on his head, just the top line. The last page, just the top line for the first set of measures. And then the last set, you do children say he can laugh and play just the same as you and me. Everybody okay? Then you go back to the beginning, we do the same thing, but we read the second line down. Okay? So all the music will repeat. That's really for me. So we don't have like, 3-4 pages of lyrics that we got to keep following. We'll just go back to the beginning and sing the second line. Okay? All right, here we go. Frosty the Snowman. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Frosty the Snowman was a jolly, happy soul with a corncob pipe and a button nose. 2 eyes made out of coal. Frosty the Snowman was a fairy tale, they say. He was made of snow, but the children know how he came to life one day. There must have been some magic in that old silk hat they found. Frosty the snowman, when the sun was hot as day. So we said, let's run and we'll have some fun now before I melt away. Down to the village with the broomstick in his hand, running here and there around the square. Say, catch me if you can. There must have been the streets of town right to the traffic cop, and he only paused a moment when he heard them holler, stop. Frosty the snowman had to hurry on his way, but he waved goodbye saying, don't you cry, I'll be back again someday. All right. Okay, so now we wish you a Merry Christmas. That's the last one, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let's see, there should be no instruction, this one, oh. Yeah, at the very top, it should start, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas twice. Before you go, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Everybody got that?
Yep.
Okay, easy enough. Okay. So this is in 3/4 time, it's a waltz, so here we go. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now we had a question from the peanut gallery. Okay, so it's 3/4 time, like a waltz, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So bring us some pudding. Oh, bring us some figgy pudding. Oh, bring us some figgy pudding and bring it right here. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. So bring it right here. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We all like our figgy pudding. We all like our figgy pudding. We all like our figgy pudding with all its good cheers. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. All right, good work,
Yeah,
everybody.
hey, nice job. Hey, thanks for joining.
What's that?
Made with apples. I thought that's what the wine was made out of.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Have some goodies before you